All right, we are now live. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I was going to do this a little bit differently. I was going to already do the end of day stuff, but since I'm testing out some new software, we're going to do it this way. So bear with me just for a moment while I get things going here. Hopefully this will work. I'm going to check the levels here. Hopefully everyone can see and hear. This is a test run. I want to make sure that everything is okay for the marathon fundraiser, because that's what we're doing. We're doing the marathon fundraiser here. And I just want to make sure that everybody can hear. And hopefully we can have some fun here. All right. Okay, so all right, let's see. Bear with me. Bear with me. All right, I think we should be golden here. Let me know if you can't hear me or you can't see me. Hold on here. Let me check my other thing here. Okay, so this is all right. I knew I was missing something, but now I see. All right. Let's see. Let's try this. I'm going to try to share my screen also. Just bear with me a little bit. Let's see. All right. Okay. I think we're good here. All right. All right, now I'm going to share the screen, make sure that's working okay. Change that, and we'll go with this chart here. Like I said, it's new software, so we got to see if it's even working. I have not streamed with this yet before, so hopefully things will be okay. All right, yep. Just waiting. It's updating now. It's a little slow. Not sure why that is though. So we'll give it a moment, give it a minute to get itself together. In the meantime, while this is booting up, if you take a look at what's happening today in the markets, we're at first glance, actuality, you're range bound. So what the markets did is what it traditionally likes to do, which is to rally into. That's what the market did. It rallied into the announcement, and now what the market is attempting to do is to the fact, right? So this right here is what happened. You rally into it, and now the market is starting to pull back down. So we are in the stock indices at least starting to correct. All right. And that is when you usually get these kind of moves. Um, I know it's weird, right? So we will see here. Okay, here we go. Now I should be able to share my screen with you. So let's try it again. See what we got. All right, so I have, okay, let's see. Oh, here we go. This should do it. Things are a little bit different now. All right. Does everybody see my screen? I don't see my screen, so let's see here. Let me try this. Nope, that's not working. Okay, that's not working either. Oh, you know what? Here it is. Okay. All right. You should be able to see me now. So let's do this. Is that better? All right, that should be better. All right, great. Great, 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 great. All right, that's what I need to know. Okay. All right, so people can see and hear. Great. All right, let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so this is, like I said, a nice little test run, and using some new toys. I just want to make sure that they're coming out okay. All right, so this first one here is your silver futures, and you can see that, right? See the market. You saw it was pulling back here, bounce. But the question is the market going to continue the bounce now that you have bullish trend momentum reading? Is it enough to get back to where it was, back up to these old highs here, and then ultimately momentum reading, you have an opportunity to make that a reality. So that's what we're looking at right now. But the thing is this, though, when you look at the bullish trend momentum reading, then you look at the internal, you see that it's still under quite a bit of selling pressure. Has happened yet. The market has not officially turned yet. And when that happens, traditionally you see a continuation of the downtrend channel. So this little technical bounce of bullishness could be nothing more but a setup for the next leg down. So you have to be weary of such. Okay, you got to be weary of such when it comes to that. Let's see here. Get over here. Let's see. Okay, let me just see if I can make this look more presentable. Okay, because sometimes it can cross the stuff up. All right, let's see. Okay. All right. Okay. So basically, like I said, on the silver, this is where you are right now, and it's not as strong looking as you would like to see it. It's not like gold, you know. And I'll show you what I mean right now. So this is your silver. Here's your gold chart. You're still in a bull market in the silver, though. Don't forget that. But it's still in a corrective phase. Okay. So the next chart we have here is, if I can get it to pull up. Oh, you know what? Wrong button. Okay. All right. So now here is your Russell. Now remember, the Russell was the weakest for the longest time. And now it, it has really powered itself up, and it has taken full advantage of the momentum, the trend momentums, in a huge way. So now you had finished with a spike high, as you can see right here. All right, finishes with a spike high. And then now we're in a rout today. But if you look at the consolidation up here, you're technically just in a very wide trading range, right? So nothing really to be too concerned about, except for the fact that you got a bearish trend momentum reading, and you came into things with said momentum readings. All right. Bearish trend momentum reading. All right. Even though you have this going on. Now, the question is going to be, what is the market trying to do? You have the bulls and the bears at a battle. And what you don't want to see is for the Russell here, to drop below this 1900 longer term support, because then that would put an end to the bull market, and then you would start the beginnings of a bear market cycle. And there's no way in the world the market wants to see that happen, right? So there you have it. This is what's going on right now. So right now there's a lot of buying still in the Russell, but this bearish trend momentum reading is starting to poke up. But because we have this bullish pointer, we know that whatever pullback happens is going to be short-lived, as the market likes to come up here and take these out. If you look at today, the Russell's down big, right? Right now it's down 66 points. All right, so but it's still at the 22 level. So it's it's way above, where you would expect for it to be. Okay, this is where we are. All right, so yeah, the market's pulling back, but it's not anything to really be concerned about, only because the market has come so far so fast. So at this point, I don't see that the market has yet exhausted itself, if that makes sense for you. I just don't see that happening yet. I think the market has higher to go still, before we see anything major yet. But the intraday price inflection point, though, has been hit in the Russell. Okay, that has been hit. So when things like that happen, you do have to stand up and take notice of that. The Russell is signaling that the markets want to really pull back here. All right, and that's what we are concerning ourselves with right now. So we're going to be continuing to watch this. And like I said, the intraday price inflection points seem to have triggered in the Russell to the downside. So this will be concerning for those that have a more bullish perspective or outlook on things. In the short term, that does not seem to be happening right now. And I think that's what is concerning people the most right now is where might things go from here. And right now you can see that in oil, you see oil is trying to head back up. All right. So it has not been back to that $95 resistance zone in a while. Neither has it visited the $66 support zone in a while. So it's still in a state of flux as well. It's in a longer term consolidation pattern, um, and the trend momentum readings are keeping the market within said ranges. So now we have the beginning of a bullish easily, okay? And that's also where you've gapped down, as you can see here too. So at minimum, the market should come and fill the gap, even if it's going to reverse and keep going lower. In the short term, near term, it's going to try to back and fill the gap first, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But your selling has ceased for now, and the market now is being accumulated, and or sellers are starting to take profit in the current zone where you're. All right, now the next one is the NASDAQ 100. Now, the NASDAQ 100 has been extraordinarily powerful, but something happened. You hit a short term top back up in here back in the beginning of July. And now here we are, August the 1st, and the market has ceased selling off and is now trying to explore a rally here and to get back some of these losses. But all yesterday did was set up for the leg down today. Now, let's see, is the NASDAQ 100 negatively pulse waving? And let's see, it's looking like that answer is no, but let me just double check. Nope, nowhere even near it. Even though the Nasdaq 100 is down, 200 points, it's still not enough to trigger an intraday price inflection point or a reversal of trend. As a matter of fact, you came in here today with the rally alert continuation, which the market gave you, and now it's reversing. The S&P also gave you the continuation and then it reversed, and the Russell did not do the continuation. It failed to continue. The Dow futures also came in here with a continuation, but it also failed to continue. So between the Russell and the Dow, they both failed the continuation pattern. S&P and NASDAQ 100 futures, however, did achieve the continuation pattern before rolling over. And you would not have been wrong if you took the long in the S&P or the NASDAQ based on last night's report, because we were still in a continuation. So you wouldn't have been wrong if you would have saw a rally alert on there. It makes sense. It makes sense. But now the market is reversing. The question is, will we get a continuation or a reversal tomorrow, or will the market want to rally? Well, I don't think this is going to be a 1 day bullish trend momentum reading. I think it's the beginning of another run up, or at least attempted one. So I think there'll be good news tomorrow, and the market will erase whatever losses it has accomplished today. Again, you've been putting in a lot of work. So now take a look here at the gold. Like I said, gold has been stronger than the silver. You got a bullish trend momentum reading, and we're not surprised to see gold up almost $20 on the day. We're at 24.9250 right now after breaking $2,500 an ounce for the first time ever. That's a lot of money. Now, the chart you're looking at now is from the current front month, which is about to roll over. and the new it's going to, it's going to be repriced. So you're not going to be seeing it where it is now. It's going to be totally repriced, and that too will be interesting. All right, let's see here. Give me a second. Gotta make this right. Hold on. Trying to update. Just give me a second. All right. All right. Okay. Now we're good. Now you can see things a lot better. Okay. So this is our gold futures. All right, let's go to the next chart. All right. All right, this is the pound sterling. Okay, pound sterling. Bear with me. Gotta upload all these, update them. All right, so here we are. And the pound sterling needs to get back up here, but it still hasn't finished dropping yet. We still have a bearish trend momentum reading, and your momentum readings are pointing down. Therefore, I expect for the pound sterling to continue to drop. And I think where the market is going is down here to test this old support. And if that psychological 126 doesn't hold, then we should come down here to the next one, which is the old here. So that's where I anticipate that the market is going to try to go next. All right, next we got, let's see. All right, next we have the euro. And the euro has been really doing its thing. Let's realign these charts real quick. All right, so it's just taking a minute to update. Things are just a little slow. All right, so while this is updating itself, notice that you are in a current bull market, right? And the market's been flip-flopping at these current levels between bearish and bullish. And even when the trend itself flip-flopped, you notice the trend momentum reading did not. It stayed long. The system stayed long, right? And then you look here, and even during this pullback period here, the system still stayed long, and it was correct to do so. Then the market broke up, and now it's still staying long. All right. And if you look back here where it was short, even with the technical bounces, it still stayed short. And back here when it was long, even with the pullbacks, it stayed long. Even on the corrections, it waited for the buy-in and stayed long. So when you have your trend momentum readings telling you what the market is doing, it's better to go with that and trade what you see. So this is what we came into today with the euro. The momentum is starting to turn down, but the trend momentum is showing you bearishness, right? But then you look at this, and that's not what you are seeing. You're seeing something else. All right, so there's something to think about as we are moving forward here. You don't always get these stars coming into alignment, if you will. You get sell-offs within the longer term structure, and that's what you see here. And then the markets, move accordingly. So you should be preparing to sell at certain price levels here. All right, and right now the system is staying long. It's saying that any pullback or correction is not going to stay, and then it was right. The market rallied right back. So you wait for those opportunities, those divine opportunities to do what you need to do, and you'll always be able to catch it. Catch me if you can, right? That's what it's about. Catch me if you can. All right, next let's see what we got. All right, this is the Ethereum futures. Let's see what we got. Let me go ahead and fix the price scaling on it. For some odd reason, it's not doing what I wanted it to do initially. So we got to reprogram it on the fly. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so now we have a better picture. So you can see the Ethereum hit, highs back in June, and we have not been back. The market has attempted to get back, but has not been able to get back at all. Okay, tries, fails, and then you come to this. So this is where we are. All right, so I wanted you to see where we are in the cycle. Okay, set it up a big drop, and that's what we got. Then this set up a big rally, and that's what we got. Now the market saying get ready for the drop, and here we go. So there's a lot of consolidating within the whipsaws in your Ethereum futures. But at the end of the day, again, we trade what we see and not what we want to see. So right now, you have a bearish trend momentum reading. This is going to put pressure on the Ethereum. So we're expecting the market to close in the red, all things being considered. All right, next we have the E-mini S&P 500. And if you take a look here, we had gone from this incredible bullish run to a topping out, and the signal said to get short and stay short, and we did. Then we got the reversal saying, okay, it's time to take profit now and get long the market. And we have this little green shoot here coming into today saying the market is ready to do a little something. But now, with all of that, guess what we got? We got a market that doesn't know what it wants to be when it grows up. How is this even possible? You know what I mean? How is this even possible? Well, that's what we're exploring right now. Not all moves are real. Some moves are based on rumors, or do you get these exaggerations, misunderstanding, misinterpretation of data, especially government reporting data. So you have to really dissect the issues, and right here, this market is vulnerable here. We already had the pullback correction. Now the market is vulnerable to continue to sell off. So we don't want to see today a close below 54.32, right? 54.32 would be dangerous for the E-mini S&P 500, and it's holding its own so far. It's not doing that. So we congratulate that. All right. And next we have, what do we have here? All right. So we have the Bitcoin futures now. All right. So let's go ahead and fix the scaling on this one. All right. And they will blow it up. Excuse me. All right. All All right, so we have a bearish trend momentum reading coming into today on this one as well. And there's been some flip-floppage along the way, as you can see here. But in addition to that, what else we got? We have the crossing of the momentum to the downside. So this one is showing that the Bitcoin is setting up for a drop. And that's what we saw in last night's reports. Well, you look at what the Bitcoin's doing right now, the August futures are down 2,385. All right, 2,385. So that's pretty substantial. Okay. So we know that this bearish trend momentum reading is going to start to extend itself as the market continues to head lower. So the lower the market heads, we expect the continuation pattern to hold as well. All right, so next we have the Aussie. Now, as you can see here, the Aussie has been bearish for some time, and it's been also flip-flopping on that. And again, that's why we have the trend momentum readings, because the trend momentum readings gives you a more broader viewpoint of the market and what it's doing. And you're in a very wide trading range, but it's a lot smoother than you think, because you can see here after the big run up, then you have the crash alert, and sure enough, the market has been red, and the system has stayed short, adding to shorts, and then boom, time to get out, get long. On pullbacks, add to the longs, breakout, profit taking. Now the market sold off, and then it's short, and now we have the beginning of a green shoot coming into today's market. Now, if you look at what the market did yesterday, right? You take a look at this, you'll see that you had a nice little run up to 65.55, right? But the market had more upside continuation to go. So it gave you continuation today and got up to 65.72, but now it's pulled all the way back to 65.27. So the Aussies have some problems here, but as long as you got a bullish trend momentum reading, it should be able to generate enough momentum to bail you out, because you're still in the bull market right now, but you've been in correction, a bull market in correction, and it looks like now we may have put in a short-term bottom support for the market to stage a nice little rebound rally. So we'll see if that can even hold. It may not. All right, so next we have the Dow. Now the Dow, as we speak, is down 551 points. So let's see what's going on here. Why is this happening? Well, first of all, coming into today, we have a mixed bag. All right, this is one of those rarities that you have, but you have here bearish trend momentum reading. Then you had a bullish trend momentum reading in the midst of it, that pushed the market up. Now you're back to a bearish trend momentum reading. So you had a two-sided coin. You basically have a stop and reverse. You have a bullish market with bearish undertones. And coming into today, you have both bearish and bullish. I know it's weird, right? But the Dow is nowhere near triggering an intraday price inflection point. That's the thing. It's nowhere near it. You know, like we discussed, the S&P and the NASDAQ looked promising coming into today because we got alerts. And then when you look at it, when it's all said and done, now you have a situation where you're trying to hold on to the 4,100, but the Dow is just not able to do it. So I think that with this bearish trend momentum reading, the bull part um, didn't pan out, and the bear part is not ready to pan out. So you're just stuck here in the middle while the market tries to define itself and decide what it wants to do. But the bullish pointer is still in effect as well. So I'm anticipating that the market is going to definitely, um, back and fill that. All right. So I do see that happening here for the Dow. I see any downside short-lived right now. People are calling for the end of the world and all this other stuff, but that's not what the algo charts are suggesting. If it was the end of the world, if it was, that drastic, it would show up in the algo charts first before it showed up anywhere else. And we're not seeing that. If it's Armageddon, then you're going to be under the auspices of a bearish trend momentum reading in all the markets. But once again, that is just not happening right now. And we get it. There's a lot of confusion, if you will. No one wants to be, wrong. So the prognostications are, not coming in so fast. All right, so this is where if you have something you want me to take a look at, go ahead and post it in the live chat, and I will attempt to pull those up for you. Again, the purpose of today is, this is a marathon that I'm doing as a fundraiser. So if you feel so inclined to do so, the Cash App info, the PayPal info, the Zelle info is in the, it's going to be in the description of the video. All right. So again, this is going to run, I'm going to run this all day as long as I can. We are attempting to raise funds. So we're just going to keep on broadcasting, and hopefully we'll be able to reach those milestones that we are attempting to do. That's what this is about. So if you have a security you want me to take a look at, I can do so for you. Okay. It's not a problem. That's what we're here for. In addition to that, we're going to also take a look at some news and see what we can find out there too. All right, so now the next thing I want to do before we move into our next segment, I'm going to take a moment break here, and I will return in a few moments. So please stand by. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. All right, so had to step away for a moment. So, for those that are just tuning in, this is our live stream fundraiser. I'm going to be trying to go as long as I can, and we're going to talk about various things. We started off during our end of day report to see where things would be heading market wise, and we can see that we were spot on. Markets are pulling back, but we don't have anything really going off except for you're just in a very wide trading range, and the market's just basically giving back all of yesterday's gains. That's basically what it boils down to. Now, of course, you've heard me tell you before, we will watch the close because the close is extremely important. Sometimes it doesn't matter what the markets do during the day, it matters how they close. And one of the reasons why you want to pay attention to closings is because it tells you what people really think about that particular market, that particular environment, with their feet, right? And they not just their wallets, but with their feet. So if people are not, you know, happy in a market, they will get out of that market and they will even consider shorting that market. Now, as we speak, the tech sector has been on fire this year because of AI, and Nvidia has been leading that race. But now, peep this though, as I'm talking to you, Nvidia is down $4 today. Not really a big deal, but it is. It's 400 points. Okay, so a penny is a point. A penny a point. So there you go. All right, you're down $4. When you look at Microsoft, though, it's up 3 cents. If you look at Palantir, it's off 25 cents. Apple is down over $2. Google's only off 74 cents. Netflix is up $3.24. Tesla is down $9.21. But Meta is killing it, crushing it today because it's up over $30 a share. All right, so monster movement there on your Meta. Now, the question is it enough? Well, let's break this down. So you opened on Meta today at 521, rallied to 527, 17, and then you fell all the way down to $500 even. Now you're at 503.97. All right. You still have gappage, even though the market has fallen from 527 down to 500, which is a $27 drop. It still hasn't back and filled from the prior day's gap up. All right. So that's an interesting thing to take a look at. Also, gold futures, are up almost $17 an ounce, right? On the December contract. December is the new front month, or like we used to say on the trading desk, Christmas. You're trading now Christmas gold. All right. So Christmas gold is the new front month. And if you look at GLD, though, it's down 56 cents. Right? Interesting. You look at GDX, it's down 74 cents a share. GDXJ is down $1.28 a share. Gold miners are struggling while gold futures are rising. So that means that the miners are struggling. Something else is happening. We would have to probably say earnings is an issue. See, that's the thing about mining stocks, mining shares, okay? They get the dual benefit. So number one, they're stocks. So they're going to, be susceptible to the same things that all stocks are susceptible to, such as interest rates. Okay, interest rates are a big deal to stocks, to corporations, because if rates go up, it makes borrowing costs more expensive, and then that in turn can cut into earnings. So then they have to warn and say, "Oh no, we're not making it. We're not gonna make it. We don't know when we're gonna make it." All right, so you have to think about that as well. But now the thing with the mining stocks is this: the thing that they mine is precious. All right, it is a rare commodity that has alternative uses. So if gold is on fire, like it has been, right, that will help the miners make more money because the gold has become more expensive. All right, so they can make more money. However, if the price of gold is down and their costs are up, obviously they are going to struggle. So there are other factors that come into play when you're looking at this. So, you know, gold miners are going to act like stocks because they are, but they're also going to sometimes act like like the commodity that they mine, and that's a plus as well. So there's a plus minus relationship there. Now, with the gold futures also have a dual mandate because on one hand, gold is a commodity, right? And it has alternative uses and purposes, not just jewelry, right? But gold also has the other benefit of being a currency, being money. You know, the old saying, gold and silver is money and nothing else. So at the end of the day, gold is also valuable and historically has been treated as money. All right. So that is an aspect as well. So sometimes gold will act like a currency, and then other times it'll act like a commodity. And that's why, you know, if the US dollar is rallying, gold may rally along with it and not have the inverse relationship that other commodities may have with the dollar. If the dollar is up, commodities are down. That's the way that goes. All right. There's an inverse relationship between the US dollar and commodity prices, just like there's an inverse relationship between yields and bond prices, right? So that's how this comes into factor to factor in. And right now, we are seeing these mixed emotions right now because people have not really been talking too much about the miners. They've been focusing on AI. Everything's AI this, AI that. But eventually, AI is going to find its way across the entire economy. It's already starting to show up in places like healthcare. Did you know now your healthcare provider is using something called Freed AI? Freed AI. Now, there have been numerous movies and TV shows about AI and stuff. And I remember this one show, and they were talking about freeing the AI. And what was meant by that is you allow the AI to access the internet. Now, the whole time, this AI, this powerful AI, was not given access to the internet. All right, because they wanted to, you know, keep it captive, control it, right? And somehow someone released it into the world vis-a-vis the internet. So once the AI was able to go online, it could never be brought back. It's like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube once it's been squozen out. And that's what happened. The AI found itself. It was able to access the internet and no longer be in a controlled, system. And that was it was a wrap after that. So that's where we are now. right? So now in healthcare, they have a freed AI program that basically goes a little something like this. So you walk into your doctor's office where you have your next appointment, and what will happen is the AI will record the entire interaction between you and your doctor, everything you discuss. And the AI will transcribe for the doctor. Excuse me. The argument is that doctors spend a lot of their time, you know, doing dictations and, writing reports and, you know, putting stuff in your chart. So the whole argument is that this will cut down on that. And this will enable the doctor to thus spend more time with patients and or see more patients, because the AI will do all the dictations and even write the reports for the doctor based on what was spoken about during the visit. And then this conversation will be stored in the patient's file. Now, this sounds like a really neat, really good idea, right? But now here is my problem with it. It seems like every week we're hearing about some type of security breach, some type of data breach. The United States of America has already shown the world that it is a victim, a helpless victim that cannot stop itself from being hacked. Every week, you're hearing about another data breach. Name your government institution, the Social Security Administration, NASA, whoever. And we just keep hearing about, oh, and they say, okay, this was done by China, this was done by Russia, this was done by North Korea, this was done by Iran. And it's very interesting how you can tell us who did it after the fact, but you can't do anything to prevent it before the fact. So if none of our government agencies are safe, what makes you think your medical records are going to be safe? Could you just imagine someone hacking into the medical records? And now, just instead of paperwork, they actually have live conversation between you and your provider of care. Do you know how humiliating and embarrassing that would be for anybody, for your medical visits with your health care provider to be put on the web, on the internet, for people to listen to over and over again? I can just see all of the excitement now. People being extorted for money. If you don't want your spouse to hear about this, you're going to fork over 100 grand right now. This could be a nightmare, folks. Could you imagine if Joe Biden's visit with his provider was leaked and put on the internet? Oh no, someone hacked the AI program that records doctor visits with your doctor. And someone put the president's right on the internet and everyone's listening to it. It's confirming all the rumors. He's senile, he's whatever, whatever. That would be disastrous. You wouldn't want that for anybody, right? So that's my only issue. My only issue is, how come we always keep hearing about the America being hacked and data breaches and millions of people's personal private information being sold on the deep dark web? And it's always attacking a government entity, a government agency. So whoever has these government contracts to provide internet security and firewalls needs to be fired, or maybe even brought up on charges of conspiring with foreign actors. Because how else are these other entities getting access to the information? It's sounding like it's an inside job to me. people are deciding to side with the briefcase. They're being presented with a briefcase full of money, and they're willing to do these things and give up this information. Because how else is it happening over and over again? It's inexcusable. We have to, really start looking into all these data breaches. It's funny when banks were being robbed, they eventually put a stop to it. They even made it so now that even if you were to be successful in robbing a bank, you're not going to get anything out of it because it doesn't have any money in it. They figured out if we don't keep any money in the banks, then it doesn't matter if someone tries to rob it or not. They won't get anything, and they'll be captured. So, yeah, you've taken the value out of it. So I don't know. I smell a rat. It doesn't pass the smell test to me. It doesn't make sense. It has to be done on purpose. This has to be something that is being done on purpose because it keeps happening and they're powerless to stop it. But yet they want to say America's still the most powerful nation on earth, the freest nation on earth. But all of the facts suggest otherwise. The facts are suggesting that America is the weakest nation on earth because it is easy pickings. Anyone who wants to hack it can have a go at it and just have a field day. Hack away. You can interfere with America's elections. There's a million things you can do. America is just vulnerable. It's just a little short runt on the playground, and all the bigger kids are picking on it, and it's powerless to stop it. This is not good. This is not good. The victim mentality is not a good look for the country. It just is not a good look. I don't know what can be done about it. If anything can be done about it. That's just it. And I think this is going to continue to happen. This is the narrative they want to run with. Everyone's picking on us. So, don't blame us if we start doing things to other countries. You know what I mean? It just doesn't think so. It doesn't make sense. So that's all. I'm just saying. It doesn't look right. And I think too that this is all, engineering, just saying. I really do think that these great distractions are happening, and they have to, because everything's collapsing around you, so they have to find ways to keep you occupied, excuse me. And it does make you think. It really does. It makes you wonder what's going on. And not just that, but like I said before, I notice things. I notice, patterns and things like that. And I noticed that a lot of, weirdness started happening right after they took down the Georgia Guidestones. As soon as they blew those up, I knew that was a signal that this was the end of the road for some things. Or should I say the beginning of the end of the road for some things. And that's what made sense to me when I saw it, that, everything that we have been seeing has been orchestrated and on being done on purpose for whatever reason. And that's just it. We don't always know the reason, the rationale behind a lot of stuff. We just know that it's something that's being done. The why, we don't know. We do not know the whys. We only know that it's happening. And sometimes things can be multifaceted, multi-purposed. It doesn't just have to be, for one reason alone. It can be different things, different agendas or even competing narratives. So I think it's saying, I really do. I believe it. I believe this is what it is. So what is it that they really want you to know? Because it's interesting that they always announce what they're about to do. And it seems like the biggest, false flags in American history were always done under the auspices of some type of war game or some type of, test, if you will, some kind of war game. So just something to think about as we are moving forward. All right. Now, if you're just tuning in, this is our Epic Marathon fundraiser. We are raising funds. And, just like I said in yesterday's video, we're trying to raise as much funds as possible. If you have been blessed by our content here on YouTube, we need your help to keep presenting this content. This is something that we're very passionate about. We want to help as many people as possible, and in order to continue to do that, I do need your help. I cannot do it alone. All right. Our post waivers, they get content from us, and they're fortunate. But for those of you who are not subscribers to the reports, we do these YouTube videos, and we do end of day videos and show you what's going on in the market so that you can, even if you can't afford the service, you could at least have some idea what's going on, and that can help you, with your portfolios. Now, I got to warn you. Things are about to get really crazy in the world of economics and finance. All right. You haven't seen anything yet. Things have been laying dormant. They've been trying to kick the can down the road as long as possible. But we're coming to the end of the road. And that's why I say if you have the wherewithal to do so, you need to fund yourself a trading account, because once these things start going, they're not going to stop for a long time, if ever. And a lot of people are going to be left behind. A lot of people are going to miss the boat. And there's not going to be anything you can do about it if you don't position yourself now, today, to take advantage of these things today. So that's why I do what I do. That's why I keep harping on these things. And I know it may annoy people sometime, but I have to keep sounding the alarm that you need to do stuff. You need to prepare yourself, because it's not a game. It's not a joke. A lot of people are going to be really, really, really caught off guard when they see the things that are about to come. Everything I've warned about here since I've been on YouTube, it's happening. The 2016 documentary I did exposing the plans that they had for the entire crypto industry, everyone laughed at me, so I didn't know what I was talking about. And now, all these years later, everything I warned about, they've already implemented. And they have no shame in it. They're saying, "Yep, this is exactly what we've done, or have been doing, or about to do, and you can't do anything to stop us." That's basically what they're saying. You can't stop us. There's nothing you can do. Nothing. We're going to do what we want to do, however we want to do it, whenever and wherever we want to do it. Yeah, That's basically what they're saying to you. And so far, they've been right. Who has had the power to stop them? Every time people try to stop them, they get shut down and they get bullied and they weaponize the system against them. Now, another thing that I had talked about was the game plan when Biden, won the election from Trump. And I said it then, I said, this is very suspicious. They know that Biden cannot really be effective and be president because of his medical situation. It's not his fault. I mean, we all hope and pray to live to a ripe old age one day. We all hope and pray to live long enough to even go through the things he's going through medically. But I said back then that I thought that earlier on he was just going to pass the mantle to Kamala. I said that this is really not about Biden, it's about Kamala. They want her to be president, but she's not strong enough to win by herself on her own. So they had to put her on Biden's ticket. And then what Biden will do is he'll just hand off the presidency to her and step down and retire. And that's kind of sort of what they're doing. They just took the long way home about it. But nevertheless, that's exactly what has happened. That's what's transpired, right? This was their plan all along. Think about it. More than anything else, what does the elite want? The elite want a president that is easy to control. Now, you could say, well, Biden's easy to control, but he still has his own mind. But that's why they love Joe Biden. And that's why they hate Donald. Wow, I keep getting kicked off. Sorry about that. I don't know what that's about. All right, hopefully you guys can hear me now. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right. I don't know where we left off at, so let's see here. Give me a second. Give me just a second. Okay. Okay. All right, so let's see, where were we? Yeah, so we're talking about, you know, the political theater and it being their plan all along to set things up for Kamala. So let's consider some of the facts. So the first fact is that if Joe Biden had announced that he was not running prior to the primaries, Kamala Harris never would have had enough support to become the nominee. There are 5 or 6 prominent Democrats that would have had absolutely trounced her. The second thing to consider is that throughout the first half of 2024, relentless efforts were made to convince everyone that Joe Biden was physically fit and mentally sharp. Were they trying to prop him up just long enough to secure the nomination? And then Democrats pushed for a very early presidential debate. Now, you may think that that was a very strange thing to do and that one would be held in June, but excuse me, when Joe Biden failed miserably, this gave them the perfect opportunity to remove him. And then finally, within hours of the announcement that Biden had dropped out, Kamala Harris already had endorsements from most of the top figures in the party, and she was already the presumptive nominee. This was clearly orchestrated well in advance. The last hope that the anyone but Kamala crowd had completely vanished when Gretchen Whitmer formally endorsed Harris. And it said that today, not only am I fired up to endorse Kamala Harris for President of the United States, I'm proud to serve as a co chair of her campaign. In Vice President Harris, Michigan voters have a candidate they can count on to lower their costs, protect their freedoms, and build an economy that works for working people. Donald Trump is a convicted felon who stoked violence, overturned Roe, and drove our economy into the ground. We cannot let him anywhere near the White House. Vice President Harris, you have my full support. Let's win this. Now, there are some people out there that are still suggesting that Michelle Obama could come swooping in at the last moment and steal the nomination from Harris. Excuse me, that's not going to happen. In fact, if you think that the Obamas played a major role in making sure that Harris would be the choice, well, this is a done deal. And it was executed with ruthless efficiency. One thing that is going to be very difficult to hide is the fact that it can be extremely unpleasant to work with Harris. It is being reported that only 5 of the 47 staffers that were working for her in 2021 were still working for her during the early part of 2024. That's right. About half of the vice president's staff is paid by the Senate, which requires regular disclosures. Of the 47 Harris staffers listed in 2021, only 5 still work for her as of this spring, according to the disclosures. So, like Hillary Clinton, behind the scenes, Harris can be absolutely brutal. And that is one of the reasons a lot of people just don't like her. It appears that the Democrats are committing political suicide. Recent surveys indicate that Harris will perform even worse against Trump than Biden would have. Her post debate polls against Trump relative to Biden have a great deal of variance, ranging from around 8 points worse to 4 points better than how Biden performed, based on an average of 26 national polls conducted over the past month. Harris trailed Trump by 4.5 points nationally, compared with a smaller 3 point deficit for Biden. Now, speaking of Biden, where in the world is he? Seriously. The last time we saw Biden, he was slowly disembarking from Air Force One in Dover, Delaware. The public did not see Biden, and then he suddenly dropped out of the race. Biden's decision to drop out came on the fourth day of sequestration at his shore home in Delaware, where he's been isolating while recovering from COVID. Now, the president was initially joined by just a small group of aides, and he has spent the entire period out of the public view. Many thought it was really odd that Biden would drop out of the race without making any sort of speech. One of those that is asking questions about Biden's status is journalist Glenn Greenwald. A journalist, Glenn Greenwald, an anti Biden left winger, posted on the social media site deeming it strange and wrong that Biden has yet to give a televised announcement. I don't endorse Biden conspiracies, but still it's strange and wrong that Biden hasn't spoken given the historic magnitude of his announcement, Greenwald wrote. Having a president drop out by tweet and then disappear is bizarre. If he's well enough to decide, then he's well enough to speak. Now, at such a historic moment, why couldn't Biden even say just a few words? Something isn't right. There are some that are suggesting that Biden may not have even signed the letter that declared that he was dropping out. Speculation has since started to grow, with conspiracy theorists poring over its authenticity, with some believing he never actually signed the letter himself. His signature on the letter shared show his name being underlined, which, according to some commentators, he has never, ever done before. Billionaire Bill Ackman has been one of those sharing the theory online, frequently reposting different takes on his signature to his X profile. Huh. Hmm. When asked about how Biden is doing, the White House insisted that he has and was almost fully recovered from his recent illness. President Joe Biden's COVID-19 symptoms nearly cleared up 5 days after he was diagnosed with the virus for the third time, according to White House physician Kevin O'Connor. So he didn't get COVID once, he didn't get COVID twice, he got it 3 times. But I thought he got all his vaccines and boosters. What's going on? The latest information on Biden's condition comes amid speculation and conspiracies running amok online that the president is either more sick than is being shared, or is incapacitated, or even deceased. His symptoms have almost resolved completely, O'Connor wrote in the latest update on Biden's recovery. If this is true, then why haven't we seen Biden by now? Frank Biden fueled speculation that something might be seriously wrong when he told CBS that Joe Biden's health played a considerable role in the decision to drop out of the race, and that he was looking forward to spending whatever time we have left with his brother. Frank Biden said to CBS that he was selfishly glad to have Joe Biden back for whatever time we have left. Then, when he was asked if health factored into his brother's decision to step aside from the race, he said, absolutely. His health played a considerable role in his decision. Whatever time we have left sounds ominous. Is this just a recognition that he's 81? Or is that a hint of something more than we're not being told? Whatever time we have left? That sounds rather ominous. Come on, people. You gotta know that doesn't sound right. Now, according to the White House schedule that was released, there are no public events scheduled for Joe Biden at all. President Joe Biden will hold no public events, and he will not explain why he stepped aside, according to the White House schedule. The lack of public appearance will increase concerns about Biden's health. Many commentators believe that Biden's lack of a public appearance to announce his decision will fuel calls for him to resign from the presidency, citing fears that he is not able to run the executive branch. It's becoming clear that we are not being told the whole story. Of course, this is the way that they have always operated in the past. Now, ultimately, we could end up with Kamala Harris in the White House just as the most chaotic chapters in American history come crashing down upon us. And that is a thought that should chill all of us to the bones. But this is where we are, people. You have to acknowledge where we are, especially if you think we have a chance, or how they say, a snowball's chance in HE double hockey sticks of getting out of it. Now, I got to say, the economy is the biggest deal. Hyperinflation is not our biggest concern. Now, I know you might probably say, Dex, man, come on, man, I was with you until you start talking crazy. What you mean hyperinflation is not a problem? I didn't say it wasn't a problem. I said it's not the biggest concern. What do I mean by that? Well, first of all, we have been under hyperinflation since 2019. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You see, folks, hyperinflation is when things start compounding, right? Inflation is just, smaller price increases. A loaf of bread used to be $1. Now it's $1.25. Okay. Inflation. Hyperinflation is the loaf of bread used to be $1. Now it's $2 or $3. That's hyperinflation. When you start seeing the prices of goods and services move higher by hundreds of percent. All right. A 100% rise in price or higher is my definition of hyperinflation. I don't care what other people's definition is. If something has increased 100% in value, that is hyperinflation. That is not normal. It is not. It's not. It's not normal for you to buy a house and pay $300,000 for it today. And then now next year, the house is valued at $1 million. That is not normal. You trying to tell me that the price of your house rose 300% in 12 months? Think about that. That doesn't make any sense. That means your house has increased in price 100% every 4 months since you bought it. Nowhere on earth does that happen. I'm sorry. The only time you will see something like that in a normal scenario is if they found the fountain of youth on your property or in your neighborhood. Then I can see your house, the value of your house going through the sky. Yeah. It'd be priceless. No one would be able to afford it. You wouldn't be able to sell it to anyone. But people would be trying to buy your house. 100% guaranteed. If your little neighborhood, your little private neighborhood where you live, where you own, they found the fountain of youth in the middle of the road in your cul-de-sac, and by way of you owning that house and that gated, quiet community, you all own a piece of it. You wouldn't have to share it with the world or anything, and you could charge people ridiculous amounts of money to come and visit it and bathe in it. Do you think your house would be worth millions or billions of dollars at that point? Yeah, pretty much. You'll be approached by the wealthiest entities on earth looking to buy your house so that they can have a share in that fountain of youth. All right, that's just how it is. That's how it is. Or if you found, you know, a well on your property, on water under the ground on your property, and let's say this water could cure any disease, yeah, you'd be the richest man on earth. And you better believe that that property would be priceless. No amount of money would be able to buy it because it can cure all disease. Well, those are just facts, right? Now, in those scenarios, you could understand why someone bought a house last year for 300,000 and this year is selling for $12 million. Well, of course, that makes sense. You have the fountain of youth on your property. You have a wellspring that cures cancer, cures all diseases. Of course, your property is going to be priceless. The property you own is going to be priceless. People will want to buy it from you, lease it from you. I'll give you $1 billion for it. Nope, I don't. No. Yes, that's what we have happening now. Except for there is no increasing intrinsic value of said goods and services. None. Zero. Zilch. You see, this is what the final stages of a bubble economy look like just before a collapse happens. Do you remember what happened in 2008? See, people remember the financial crisis backwards. The financial crisis did not start in 2008. It started in 2006 when you had a bubble in the housing market that topped out in 2006. And when 2007 rolled around, we realized that the gig was up because Wall Street had stopped buying those elaborate mortgage-backed securities. And we knew that there was something wrong because at that time, if you recall, this is '07, but in '07, we started to see things unraveling. The biggest telltale sign that we saw was that the Dow and the Russell and the S&P were all hitting new all-time highs. The futures were hitting new contract highs. But there was a problem. The NASDAQ 100, the tech sector, was not participating. As a matter of fact, the Dow, S&P, and Russell had erased, hear what I'm saying, erased all of the dot-com bubble 100%, erased all of it. All the losses from 2000, all of it was erased. Yes, but yet the NASDAQ 100 hadn't even recovered 50% of the loss in '07. It would take the NASDAQ like 16 years to recover, all right, what it lost in the dot-com bubble. So with that being said, when we saw that discrepancy, we knew something was wrong. We knew that the market that we were witnessing at that time was not the real market. it was an inflated market. It was a market that was inflated, fueled by the real estate hysteria. All right. If you remember, there was Flip That House. Remember Flip That House, and all these different programs on TV. Everybody was a housing expert. Everybody became Donald Trump overnight, right? People were quitting their jobs and becoming realtors, and people were all up in it. People were becoming loan officers. You had loan officers making, seven figures, realtors making seven figures. You had people that were, buying houses like they buy sneakers. I personally knew of people that had 50 houses or more. I'm not exaggerating. 50 houses, man. I'm sure you guys remember. Do you remember the guy? I think he was down in Florida. He had like 300 properties that he was trying to unload and couldn't unload them. That's a lot of mortgage payments. But see, what you are experiencing, ladies and gentlemen, right now, what you are experiencing is hyperinflation. You are experiencing hyperinflation. So let me ask you, how does it feel to be living on the edge of a bubble just before it bursts? Some of you were not alive during the dot-com bubble when it bursted in 2000. Some of you were not even alive. Some of you were not even walking on earth. Some of you, your feet had never touched grass yet. And ever since the days of the quote, 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 Great Recession, our leaders have been going through extremes that we have never seen before as they attempt to keep our failing economy propped up. You see, the Federal Reserve has created trillions upon trillions of dollars of thin air and pumped it directly into the financial system. Our politicians in Washington have on the greatest debt binge in the history of the world. You heard, the great, men of, economics like Jim Rogers. You heard him say, America is now the biggest debtor nation in the history of the world. And he is right. And as a result, our national debt has soared to truly horrifying levels. Just recently, our national debt reached $35 trillion. And even the New York Times is admitting that it is growing more quickly than many economists had even predicted. America's gross national debt topped $35 trillion for the first time as a reminder of the nation's grim fiscal predicament as the legislative fights over taxes and spending initiatives loom in Washington. Now, the Treasury Department noted the milestone in its daily report detailing the nation's balance sheet. The red ink is mounting in the United States more quickly than many economists had predicted, as the cost of federal programs enacted in recent years have exceeded initial projections. Now, you always want to hear, whenever they talk about, austerity, they always want to come after quote unquote entitlements. But the proof has already been exposed that we've never had a problem with entitlements, because some kind of way, every week, every month, they find billions and billions of dollars that they can send overseas. Send some for the Ukrainian war, sending aid to this country, sending aid to that country. For a country that is so broke, we sure do have a lot of money to send overseas. But yet at the same time, they want to complain about entitlements. So To mark this milestone of the biggest debtor nation in the history of the world, the House Budget Committee has released some startling numbers about how rapidly our debt has been growing over the last 12 months. And it goes a little something like this. Let me know if you heard this song before. $196 billion in new debt per month. $6.4 billion in new debt per day. $268 million in new debt per hour. $4.5 million in new debt per minute. And that's $74,401 in new debt per second. The third number in that list really stands out. $268 million in new debt per hour. That's a lot of pork programs. $268 million is being stolen from future generations of Americans every single hour of every single day, and hardly anyone seems to care. We are literally committing national suicide, ladies and gentlemen. When a government borrows money, which must be paid back later, must be paid back later, must be paid back later. Prosperity in the future is being sacrificed for more prosperity in the present. Now, we were $10 trillion in debt when Barack Obama entered the White House, and now we are $35 trillion in debt. We have literally destroyed the bright future that our children and grandchildren were supposed to have. But all of this borrowing had us to enjoy a standard of living that is far higher than what we actually deserve or can afford to sustain, which means it is unsustainable. Unfortunately, we have reached a point where economic conditions are steadily getting worse, even though our government continues to pile up mountains of new debt. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, homelessness in the U.S. has been growing by an average of about 10% a year since the pandemic ended. According to the data from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, better known as HUD, since the end of the pandemic, we've experienced an average of 10% a year growth in homelessness. By the end of 2023, the U.S. hit its highest reported level in history since they began tracking in 2007. Now, that same report says that the four states that have the largest problems with homelessness are California, Florida, and Washington. The largest populations of homeless people are mainly in four states: California, New York, Florida, and Washington. New Hampshire and New Mexico saw the large increases in homeless people with 52% and 50% respectively. New York came in third, moving up by 39% since the last survey. Now, in addition to growing homelessness, we are seeing poverty and hunger rise all over the nation. This is a catastrophe, ladies and gentlemen, that should not be happening in the United States of America, that is supposedly the richest and greatest country on earth. I am not seeing the evidence for this. Now, combined data released last month from federal agencies found the U.S. is facing growing rates of poverty and food insecurity. In 2023, more than 12% of the nation was living below the poverty line, and nearly 13% said they didn't have enough to eat. Now, Ann Olivia, CEO of the National Alliance to End Homelessness, said more people are becoming homeless for the first time ever. This increase is due to people becoming unhoused faster. They have no place to go, so they end up on the streets. Our national debt has gone from $10 trillion to $35 trillion since Barack Obama first entered the White House, and our economy is still crumbling, even after he is long since gone. This represents an epic failure of historic proportions. We've accumulated the largest mountain of debt in the history of the world, and most of the population is still struggling. But all of this money has created an immensely painful cost of living crisis. Today, there are six major U.S. cities where you will only be able to live a middle class lifestyle, even though you're making $200,000 a year. That's right, earning $200,000 a year might seem like enough to live a life of luxury. But in six of the 25 biggest U.S. metros, rampant inflation in the past 2 years means this six-figure salary is only enough to be middle class. And of course, the vast majority of Americans will never make 200K a year. In fact, most Americans are just barely scraping by. One recent survey discovered that 71% of US adults are stressed out about their ability to afford everyday expenses. 71%, 71% of Americans say they're stressed by their ability to afford everyday expenses. Americans most regularly spend money on groceries, phone bills, utilities, gasoline, and rent mortgage payments. Grocery bills frustrate Americans more than any other regular expense. Utilities, rent, mortgage payments, gasoline, and insurance payments round out the top five most annoying expenses. Are you constantly stressed about your finances? If so, you certainly aren't alone. Unfortunately, things are only going to get worse from here. Decades of incredibly foolish decisions have set the stage for a colossal collapse. The bubble that we have been riding will inevitably burst, and once that occurs, the consequences will be absolutely excruciating. But now we're in 2024. Red flags are popping up on an almost daily basis. For example, shares of Ford Motor Company recently plummeted by 18% on a single day due to very disappointing results. The last time shares of Ford Motor dropped by more than 18% in a day, as they did last week, the U.S. automotive industry was on the brink of bankruptcy during the Great Recession. Ford, which avoided bankruptcy in 2008 and 9, is far from any sort of such disaster, but the free fall in shares after the company missed Wall Street's earnings expectations is the leading example of the uphill battle automakers face for the remainder of the year. As conditions get even worse during the second half of this year and beyond, our leaders will attempt to stabilize things by doing even more of what they have already been doing. But that will make the cost of living crisis even more. And it will just make our long term problems even worse. This is definitely a cost of living crisis. And you know this unless you're hiding under a rock. So, of course, our long term problems are rapidly becoming our short term problems. The entire system is convulsing with tremors, and our bubble economy is slowly but surely heading toward a date with oblivion. Yeah, we got problems. Yeah, America has problems. And we're going to need all hands on deck. We're just going to have to do it. All right, so we've been really going at it for a while, haven't we? Almost 2 hours. Almost 2 hours, man. All right, I'm going to have to take a quick break, and then what I'll do is I'll come back. So I'm going to end this particular live stream, and then we're going to come back with our part 2 when I come back. So once again, this is our live stream fundraiser. Please, 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 if you value this content, you want to see this content continue every day, then we need your help to do so, okay? Help us to reach our lofty goals. This will let me know if people really appreciate the content and are really getting something from it. And we will make our determinations going forward on what's working, what's not working. And this will let me know if what we do is valued here or not. All right, with that being said, I will see you guys back here in a little bit. Time to take a lunch break. And with that being said, remember, the system, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And on that note, I am out. Peace.